Welcome. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council. Help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established among us all. Amen. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of lands and waterways now known as Manningham. Council pays respect to elders past, present and emerging, and values the ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council acknowledges and respects Australia's First Peoples as traditional owners of lands and waterways across country and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contribution made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome all members of the public who have joined us here in person. Thank you for joining us tonight, and also who may be watching us online. I'd like to advise that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event your voice and/or image is broadcast by council. No additional recording of the meeting is permitted without council's consent. Council meetings are conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I'll introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and by reading the title. I will then call for a mover and seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors can join the debate on an item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I'd like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda. Public question time provides people with an opportunity to ask questions of the council. Council has allocated 30 minutes for question time, and the process for public question time is set out in our governance rules. Questions must be received prior to the start of the meeting to be asked. Where we receive advance notice of a question in accordance with our governance rules, we will provide a verbal response to the question at our meeting. Questions we receive prior to the meeting may be taken on notice if we don't have the information available to provide a meaningful response. If this happens, we will provide you with a written response to your question within 10 working days. Our governance rules provide that we will deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and up to 4 questions on any one issue. These rules will be enforced to ensure a broad range of topics and perspectives can be heard during question time. When it is your turn to ask a question, I'll ask you to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. After you ask your question, you will have 2 minutes to make a brief statement. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to council through the normal channels. To ensure the efficient conduct of our meeting and maximum participation during question time, all questions and answers shall be as brief as possible and no discussion will be entered into. Councillors and the gallery are reminded that question time is to be conducted in a respectful manner, having consideration to the diverse views of those present. Any disorderly conduct will be managed in accordance with our governance rules. Item number 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. So there are no apologies for tonight's meeting. Councillors, are there any requests for leave of absence? And there's none noted. Thank you, councillors. Item number 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. We have had no prior notifications of conflict of interest received. Would anyone like to give a notice of a conflict of interest? And there are none. Thank you, councillors. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover?
That the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of February 2025 being confirmed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carly Lang. Do I have a seconder?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, and that's carried unanimously. Item number 5, presentations. 5.1, Manningham Staff Service Awards. Councillors, I'm very pleased to say that we've had a number of staff who recently celebrated significant milestones in their years of service here at Manningham. I would like to acknowledge the following council officers. For 20 years of service, we have Amber Ferguson, Emergency Management Team, and Anna Wheeler, Environmental Health Team. For 25 years of service, we have Maria Nakapoulou, Infrastructure Business Support Team, and Mary Shorto, Customer Service Team. For 40 years of service, we have David Wadsworth, Parks and Natural Environment Team. And for an amazing 45 years of service, we have Brent Olney from the Sustainable Management Team. I'd like to thank these staff and all our staff for their contribution, dedication and hard work during their time at Council. Can we please give them a round of applause, councillors? And when I welcomed our new staff this morning, I said, where you've got people working in organisation for 25, 40, 45 years, you know we're doing something good in terms of culture. So it's very pleasing to see. Item number 6, petitions. I note that we do have written responses that have been provided to the 2 lead petitioners from the 25th of February 2025 council meeting, and these responses are included in the agenda. These will be recorded in the minutes in accordance with sub-rule 58.9 of the governance rules. Councillors, for tonight we have received 3 petitions. The first petition, 6.1, a petition requesting parking signage along St Andrew's Crescent and Spear Court in Bulleen. Do I have a mover for this petition? Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a second? Oh, sorry, you need to read out the petition.
Madam Mayor, that the petition with 43 signatures requesting council to place parking restrictions in St Andrew's Crescent and Spear Court Bulleen be received and referred through the appropriate officer for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Councillor Goff, did you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Grievous?
No, Madam Mayor.
I will put that to a vote. All those in favour? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. (6.2) Petition. Proposal to remove the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags in Manningham and welcome and or acknowledgement of country from meetings or council functions. Do I have a mover? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the petition with 12 signatories requesting council to remove from permanent display the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags from all flagpoles within the jurisdiction of the Manningham City Council and to cease practice of verbally stating welcome and or acknowledgement of country before any meeting or function arranged by council be received and referred through to the appropriate officer for response.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the petition? Councillor Bain?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 6.3, petition. Retain existing carport at 18 Canara Street, Doncaster East. Do I have a mover? Councillor Laura Main.
I move that the petition with 10 signatories requesting council to retain the existing carport at 18 Canara Street, Doncaster East, be received and referred through to the appropriate officer for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Councillor Laura Main, did you want to speak to the petition, Councillor Conlon? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We now move to item 7, public question time. Sorry, councillors, we just had an additional question tabled. So we have received a number of questions for tonight's council meeting. Anyone who has registered a question with council will have the opportunity to read out their question or choose to have their question read out by our CEO. I'll call upon those who've registered their questions to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. Our first question tonight comes from Leonie Lisiecki. As Leonie is not present in the gallery this evening, I'll invite our CEO, Mr. Andrew Day, to read the question on her behalf.
Thank you, Mayor. The questions are, what actions will you as Mayor and elected councillors take to support residents to advocate on behalf about the concerns raised in relation to the Doncaster Park and Ride proposed upgrade? What advocacy has been put in place since I met with the Mayor on site? And secondly, provide a uniform collective approach for residents to raise concerns as individual residents are powerless and have not been heard, and provide public knowledge on the council website to inform residents about the actions councils are undertaking to support them.
Thank you, Andrew Day. I'll ask Andrew McMaster, Director of City Planning and Livability, to provide a response to both those questions.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Leonie, for your questions. Leonie, since the on-site meeting held between the Mayor and a member of my team, Council continues to advocate for quality outcomes for the redevelopment of the Doncaster Park and Ride. This advocacy has taken multiple forms, including calling on the federal government to urge the state government to deliver a transit-oriented development, which Council has been advocating for since 2022. Council officers have participated in a number of meetings to discuss key design issues, particularly regarding the configuration of the pick-up and drop-off area and the impact this will have on Hender Street and the surrounding local road network. Additionally, Council officers and directors have met with project directors on site to raise these concerns. Council maintains a strong stance on what the redevelopment of Doncaster Park and Ride should entail. We want to ensure that the best outcomes are achieved not only for adjacent properties, but for the broader community. This vision is reflected in Council's Urban Design and Landscape Plan submission, which was submitted late last year and is available on our website. Council has also continued its advocacy regarding the construction period of the project to try to minimise impact to residents throughout this construction. This includes raising concerns to the project in relation to noise, dust, traffic congestions and other matters on behalf of our community, and seeking the project undertake traffic impact assessments in local roads as a result of the closure of DPR. On your second question, firstly, it is essential to reinforce that any issues that are related to the North East Link and the Eastern Freeway upgrade projects should be reported directly to the project team in the first instance. The North East Link project teams are responsible for monitoring those complaints, recording them, and must provide resolutions. Without accurate data on the issues that our residents are facing, the project cannot be held accountable for the actions it takes to address those complaints. Directing your concerns to the project team is crucial, as in some cases, they may be able to provide immediate relief. We've heard stories of them being able to address noise and lighting issues at night as and when these occur. If a response is not provided by the project, or if the response is unsatisfactory, the project and their contractors have an escalation process which can be requested. Council is also able to step in to advocate to the project and the state on behalf of residents, and residents can escalate their concerns through Council's usual contact channels. On public knowledge on the Council website, our residents can find various news stories which showcase Council's advocacy on the North East Link by searching North East Link project on the Council website. This includes recent examples such as our latest federal advocacy piece, which was endorsed by Council at the Council meeting last month. We have found that some of the best outcomes for resident advocacy actually come from direct conversations with the project about the impacts that residents are facing. Sometimes these stories are not suitable for publication on our website, but I can assure the community that that advocacy occurs at officer level every day. Based on feedback we have received from the community, including from you, Leonie, we will be consulting our communications team about creating a dedicated page to compile these news stories to make it easier for the community to understand how council is proposing to respond. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Our next questions are from Cynthia Pilley. And Cynthia is also not present this evening in the gallery, so I'll again invite our CEO, Mr. Andrew Day, to read the questions on her behalf.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for some context, these questions relate to the Victorian government's push in relation to increasing housing stock in the state, and also in relation to changes on planning controls, changes of planning controls. And the first question is, will Manningham Council convene public information forums in all wards of the municipality as a matter of urgency, having mailed in writing to all households the reasons why the canopy tree protection is necessary and must be maintained, including clear details of the date, time, venue and agenda of each public meeting? And the second question is, will Council review the regulatory environment concerning canopy trees, including the state government's building and planning codes that impact canopy tree cover, adequacy of setbacks, boundaries, etc., and prosecution of offenders, and jointly lobby, perhaps with other councils, for the preservation of adequate canopy cover?
Thank you, Andrew. For a response to the first question, I'm going to ask Rochelle Quattrocchi, Director of City Services.
Thank you, Ms. Cynthia Pilley, for your question. And I also just want to acknowledge the research and information that you've provided us and your passion for maintaining tree canopy right across Melbourne. I did actually read through a lot of that, and I can really understand your concerns. Here at Manningham, we are developing a nature plan, and we've had a consultation period more recently with the initial phase, but there is more to come. The nature plan addresses the importance of tree canopy and what we're doing to protect our urban forest of Manningham. Further consultation will occur on this new plan, with the community being advised via Your Say Manningham and various other communication channels. But I also wanted to invite a meeting with you, Cynthia, as well, with officers to talk through that nature plan. Manningham is also a signatory to the Melbourne Urban Forest Strategy. And we recognise that an urban forest and individual trees are critical natural assets, critical to community health and well-being, the ecosystem services and overall livability. We have a strategy to protect our urban canopy that provides community value and care for our urban canopy that supports the health and well-being of our broader community. We also have a tree amenity policy. The retention and protection of council-managed trees is given a high priority here at Manningham. We have a tree amenity policy that considers and is also a mechanism of recognition of public trees as assets, and we base this on the size, maturity of the trees, the form, health condition, etc. And this provides a monetary value to a tree as an asset. This is a very transparent and a reliable process that we've tested here in Manningham that actually contributes to the economic value of public-owned trees. That also considers the loss of tree-valued benefits should a tree be removed from public space to make way for private development. Again, Cynthia, thank you for your question, and the invitation is there if you would like to meet with officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. I'll ask Andrew McMaster, please, to come back, Director of City Planning and Livability, to respond to the second question.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Cynthia, for your question. On changes to the regulatory environment, Manningham Council currently uses planning controls in parts of the municipality which are designed to retain and enhance tree canopy cover. These controls include the environmental significance overlay, the significant landscape overlay, and the vegetation protection overlay, and they regulate tree removal and development impacts on existing vegetation. You are quite right that the state government has recently changed the planning framework with the release of a new Clause 55 and Clause 57 in the planning scheme, which controls townhouse, low-rise and apartment development. These changes are a very significant departure to the standards that we had in place previously for multi-unit development and which have been put in place for many years. They significantly change the way low-rise developments are going to be assessed by our officers. Officers have significant concerns about what these changes mean for the retention and/or removal of canopy trees on a development site and what protections are required to be afforded to the trees which are on neighbouring properties. I want to assure you that officers will continue to enforce the provisions of the Manningham planning scheme to the extent we can and any planning permits that are issued. We are aware the sector is seeking to understand the changes. They are quite new and we're still getting on top of what they mean in terms of development for Manningham. We will absolutely take every opportunity to advocate for appropriate controls, both individually and with other councils where this becomes available. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next question is from Darcy Reynolds. Darcy, would you like to come to the lectern? So you have 2 minutes to provide background information and then 2 minutes to ask your question.
Hello, Mayor, councillors and esteemed audience. My question is in regards to the embankment opposite the top of Chivers Road in Templestowe. This part of the hill seems to leak water irrespective of the weather, although it's naturally compounded by the weather. The cause of this water seems to consistently flood across the road, and it's either caused by the equipment on the hill, it seems, or something within the homeowner's property. I know this because I sit there and I look at it while I'm waiting for my bus. And my question is, can the cause of the unknown water be investigated, and can council either contact the relevant homeowner for them to be notified, or investigate the owners of the equipment and see if they can be notified as well? No worries.
Thank you for your question, Darcy, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. I'll ask Rochelle Kotrocki, Director of City Services, to provide a response, noting that it might not be a full response at this stage, but I'll ask Rochelle to provide a response.
And as Julie, I just wanted to say thank you, Darcy, for bringing that to our attention. We really appreciate that. Our community is our eyes and ears as well. We will investigate and we'll make sure that we follow up with the property owner, but really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Darcy. Our next question is from Anna Marie. Are you in the gallery, would you like to come to the lectern? And again, you have 2 minutes to ask your, 2 minutes to provide background and then 2 minutes to ask your question.
Good evening all. My name is Anna Manice Van Saan and my question tonight is, can you tell me in what ways this council will advocate for a community that is suffering as a result of bearing witness to a genocide, and whether it will use its influence to sanction Israel?
Thank you, Anna, for your question. I'll ask our CEO, Andrew Day, to respond.
Look, thank you for the question, and I can assure you that Council is very attuned with what is happening internationally as well as the challenges within the local community. What we will do is take your question on notice this evening and we will come back to you with a response in relation to that. So thank you for your question.
I have a statement prepared. I can't read that, can I? No.
Oh, you've got 2 minutes to read a statement.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
That was probably a waste of time. I just wanted to explain a little bit further.
Please, yeah, of course.
So I'm a resident of Manningham. I have been so for most of my life. I have a 7-year-old, and since last week she's been asking me why I look so sad and why I have tears in my eyes sometimes, and I can't tell her of these images of dead children and Palestinian children's lifeless bodies in blood-stained shrouds embraced by their crying parents. So I can't explain to her that the ceasefire has been broken again by Israel, and I can't explain to her that my mental health has been affected by the horror that's happening all around us in this world. So while those with power and influence seem to be silent, so I can't explain to her that the world refuses to protect children who don't look like her. So I know last year this council rejected a motion to show solidarity with Palestine and Palestinians within the Manningham community. So now, more than a year on, the genocide's worsening, and despite that so-called ceasefire, I was hoping that we wouldn't need to be speaking about the genocide 1 year later, but like many other people in our community, we are hurting. Our mental health is suffering. We can't look away. I have conversations with other parents who say their anguish is compounded by the silence by those in leadership positions everywhere, in workplaces, in our churches, cultural groups, in our councils. I want to go back to my daughter tonight and tell her that there are good leaders in our community who care about what's happening and who want to help those who are sad. Like me, because of what's happening in Gaza, I really want her to have hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I'm going to move on to item number 8, admission of urgent business, and there are no items of urgent business. Item number 9, planning permit applications, and there are no planning permit applications that require a decision of council this month. Item 10, city planning, 10.1 North East Link project, worker parking impacts to local community. Do I have a mover?
Madam Mayor, I have a move a motion that is not in the paper but is a bit of an it's not even an alternative, it's an expanded motion, so I'd like to move that if that's okay.
Yes, thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. So I formally move that Council A notes the impact caused by the closure of the North East Link project Spark worker parking at the Manningham Interchange construction compound, which has resulted in workers parking their vehicles in local streets and is creating a real and ongoing adverse community impact. B, that Council express its dissatisfaction to NELP Spark regarding the lack of dedicated NELP Spark worker parking associated with the Manningham Interchange construction compound and the adverse impact this is having on local streets, and Council's expectation for NELP Spark to provide worker parking in line with the NELP environmental performance requirements, the EPRs, and their subsequent work sites and traffic management plans. Council's, and the third dot point there in B is, this is new, Council's expectations for the NELP Spark to reimburse Council for all costs associated with any introduction of parking restrictions, including consultation, signage, ongoing monitoring, enforcing and administration. C, formally request NELP Spark to share with Council and the community detailed information on the assessments undertaken for potential satellite parking sites to accommodate its workforce and limit the impact on local streets, including details on why these sites have been deemed unsuitable for satellite worker parking sites. D, authorise the CEO, our CEO, to write to NELP and its contractor Spark to actions paragraphs B and C. E, and this is new, immediately begin the process to implement parking restrictions on the following streets identified in the petitions presented to the February and March 2025 council meetings, being Rockley Road, Ilmer Court, Rob Close, St Andrews Crescent, Spear Court and Golden Way. And F, acknowledging the absence of a commitment by NELP Spark to provide satellite parking sites for its workforce, endorse council officers' recommendation to immediately seek community input on a range of other options to address NELP Spark worker parking in residential streets.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and it really concerns me that I have to get up here after quite a substantial amount of time of council and officers and people in correspondence with NELP, working in good favour and in a good way with them, in a great dialogue, to actually come to a halt of this becoming a real issue. Madam Mayor, if this was a private developer developing a project, they must provide acquired to provide and implement a traffic and parking management plan, and we would stop things if they weren't doing it. The thing is that NELP doesn't have to follow what private contractors do have to do. And so they've got an obligation, however. The Minister has made a number of guidelines on what they need to do and what they need to follow, not to impact the community and to provide that transport for them. That is a requirement by them under the whole program, and it's a ministerial directive. And now we've had, for 2.5 months now, mayhem in streets surrounding this interchange of workers, and it's not necessarily their fault, but workers parking in residential streets, in residential courts, both sides of the street, to a situation that people find it difficult to get in and out of their driveways. People can't go up the middle really sometimes because the roads in some of the areas aren't wide enough. It is wall-to-wall traffic and parking, and it's not just in a daytime, it starts and goes through the evenings as well. So these people are being denied the amenity of their own street and ability to get in and out of their house, and indeed even tonight, Madam Mayor, I had a phone call from a person that was having difficulty because there was a car parked across his driveway. This is really not good enough and cannot go on. And this motion here is to raise that situation. We need to have that discussion with NELP, and it needs to be very timely, because our community is not getting the support that it should be getting according to what has been suggested to them by NELP and the others over this time. We've had issues in the past with dust and noise and lights and big transports going up some streets. But this one here is on a daily basis, 24/7, and it's not something, Madam Mayor, that is going to go away tomorrow. It's not going to go away in a month. It's going to go away in about, I don't know how many years, and who knows whether the project goes broke halfway through. How many years the residents of this area are going to have to put up with the inconvenience of what is being foisted upon them by an organisation of the government not doing what is directed for them to do through ministerial directives of those plans. And I really believe that we need to start standing up here for our community to ensure that that amenity goes. And this particular motion actually outlines the processes that we're going to go through. And it's not just those streets. It's the whole block that we're going to have to work out what we do to provide the amenity for all of the people that live in that quarter or whatever if you go along both sides of Manningham Road, but left and right, going back probably half a kilometre to a kilometre. And we've got a huge area that people will be spilling that parking out into, and it is not on. And we are wanting, well, I hope that we all vote in favour of this, because we as councillors are prepared to stand and watch our community put up with this treatment by the state government's project over this long time. And indeed, Madam Mayor, even the actual workers themselves have, as today, I understand, put leaflets into letterboxes saying that they want Spark and Nelt to actually provide an area for them to park, and they don't really want to annoy the people in our streets. But the letters went out from them saying that, you know, they don't want it, but there's nowhere else to go. Now, if it was a private construction, we could do something and we'd have something to say about it. But because it's a government one, they don't have to. They don't feel as if they have to, and they don't feel as if they're answerable to anybody. We are trying to reach out to them. We need to find out. We need to find out quickly, this week, what they're going to do.
Time, Councillor Goff.
Madam Mayor, I might stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Well said, Councillor. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And if I remember correctly, North East Link Authority started their first consultation in 2017 and had worked collaboratively with Council. And North East Community Fund has a budget of 10 million and to support local initiatives and projects to win the hearts and supports of people that are impacted by the North East Link construction work. Unfortunately, we no longer see the same level of collaboration from NELP after construction work began. Workers parking their vehicles in local streets is creating ongoing adverse impact to the community. Council has tried to work with NELP to find satellite parking for workers to park. It is disappointing to learn that NELP and Spark will not initiate any satellite parking for their workers without providing Council full details of the investigatory works. And I remember worksite traffic management plans and construction compound plan are within the environmental performance requirements approved by the Minister for Planning. They are required to deliver by NELP and its contractors. Although it is not Council's matter, our officers have proposed 4 options, including satellite parking. We know that any options involving parking restrictions have their unknown and unintended consequences. So the community must be informed to have accurate understanding of the pros and cons of their options. The consultation process, any parking restrictions implementation will incur a significant cost to Council. At the current rate capping environment and cost shifting from other levels of government, it is unfair to use our ratepayers' dollars to solve the problems which is owned by NELP and Spark. So this is the amendment seeking a full cost recovery from NELP and Spark will give weight to Council seeking compensation for finding a solution which is not Council's to manage.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have other speakers for the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Grievous.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, this project is not a Manningham project. We know that. We understand that. But we also try to work with contractors and workers to ensure they all do the right thing. In this instance, it's becoming quite ridiculous that we, Manningham Council, have to look at other avenues to help these contractors, government contractors, find alternative parking. The amenity of the residents are impacted immensely, let alone on top of all the overnight construction works. We now have to deal with parking issues surrounding the North East Link tollway, because that's what it is, it's a tollway in that area. Noises at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, 6 a.m, waking our residents, our children who have to go to work, have to go to school, our elderly. Bullying is full of families. and they want a nice, quiet area to live in, and they don't want to be impacted by this parking. But their amenity is now being impacted in every street close to these works. There are cars parked everywhere, over driveways, and no standing signs. Noises in the morning with car doors opening, closing. There's yelling, there's screaming, there's laughing, there's conversations at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, 6 a.m. Enough. And the rubbish that's left behind by these workers is ridiculous. Clean your messes as well. I'm getting a number of residents writing to me, explaining all this to me. What if there's a requirement for emergency service to try and get through? They won't be able to do that. Enough is enough. Nelp and Spark must look at other options in relation to this parking area. Whilst they have had a look at some options, going forward, not doing anything is not good enough. And on top of that, for the residents to get letters and ask them to allow workers to park in the area is ridiculous as well. So I believe that this council needs to take steps and inconvenience either the residents or Nelp and Spark. Well, we're going to inconvenience Nelp and Spark. That's the way it's headed. And many of the residents at all times must be looked after by this council. Nelp and Spark, it's time to take the blinkers off and find alternate parking arrangements for your workers, not for our residents. It's not for our project to deal with, it's yours. So therefore this parking issue is not ours, it's yours. Stop making our issue. Stop making this our issue and start looking for alternatives. Spark, you've lit a spark, but you might be lighting a fire. So I also recommend that this be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Lang.
Thank you, councillors. I also encourage us to support this motion. I think it's very clear from the petitions that we've had in the past and that we continue to get that the residents in these streets are suffering. And it is our responsibility on our local roads to advocate for their amenity, especially when that is caused by either private contractors or the current state government projects. Really what we should be advocating for on this project, which I'm glad to see included, is that timely and transparent discussion and information regarding what viability and investigations have occurred with the satellite parking. And we strongly support the government into continuing to work for satellite parking, because not only are our residents humans who need to be able to access their homes, so are the workers that are on this project being able to access their workplace. And people need the amenity on our local roads to do that. So I encourage councillors to support this motion, especially immediately beginning the process with these local streets and residents to work on ways to assess the problem and the parking now.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? I might ask a question of the CEO, councillors. We've read in the report and we've seen there's a level of non-compliance with the environmental performance requirements that are signed off by the Minister for Planning. So these are ministerially approved requirements, and they include transport management plans, and they include social and community impacts, which include preventing the workforce from parking in local roads. So I do want to ask our CEO, given this level of non-compliance by Spark, what is council doing to enforce this compliance or address this non-compliance?
Thank you for the question, Mayor, and you're quite right. There are a number, I think 3 or so EPRs that we've got some concerns around. Obviously, we've raised it directly both with the North East Link and with Spark, and we are absolutely looking at our options in relation to holding them to account for those EPRs, and we'll provide further advice when we have it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. If there are no further speakers, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 11, connected communities, and there are no connected community reports this month. Item 12, city services, and there are no city services reports this month. Item 13, experience and capability. 13.1, Community Vision and Community Panel's Recommendations, Formal Response. I would like to move, councillors, that this recommendation be adopted. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Councillors, we're very aware and very thankful for the work of the community panel, and it's great to have a representative here with us tonight. Councillors, I'm very pleased to say that the community panel's report, their final report, had a community vision that we all support in full. So thank you to the panel for the community vision. We loved the community vision, and we loved the inclusion of being an innovative council, to see how that we can do things differently, or do more with less, or just look outside the box. So thank you for encouraging that thinking. I'd also like to show our very strong support for all of the recommendations and the minority report that was submitted by the panel. And just for the people in the gallery and the people who are listening to this meeting, and I'll just put my glasses on to help my old eyes. The 14 recommendations that the panel have put in their report and that we are supporting include prioritising resources for seniors, investing in community safety, retaining existing and creating new and open spaces, increasing Manningham's connectivity through bus services, addressing cost shifting from other levels of government, youth community engagement, health and wellbeing support, council assets as multi-use facilities, promoting awareness of services available through customer service using existing and new platforms, improving Manningham's active transport network, which includes footpaths and bicycle lanes, funding community festivals and activities, upgrades for local shops and business, and exploring and unlocking new revenue streams to add to the remit budget from available resources, not just assets, and equitable support for families and individuals in urgent need. So, councillors, I want to thank the community panel for their work in coming up with those 14 recommendations. I'm really excited that we're going to be working on those and implementing those through our 4-year council plan. So I thoroughly recommend this report, councillors, and again thank the community panel for their vision. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'd also like to reiterate our thanks to our panel members for the dedication, the time commitment, and the recommendations that you came up with. As the Mayor said, there's 14 of them, and it was great to see that there's a balance of targeted spending. So, you're telling us where to spend our money more wisely, but you balance that with a new, the reality that we can't spend more money without raising more money. So, the idea of doing the new revenue streams was a really great balance of that. And then you've also recognised we have a role in advocacy, so around cost shifting of the state government, and the need for better bus services, and our role in that. So it was really great, like I said, a really great balanced list of recommendations. And I'd also like to thank the officers for the report, outlining all the actions that are now coming out of that, that hopefully we'll support tonight. It's a great list of actions that we intend to support your recommendations with, and yeah, hopefully, as the Mayor said, it'll get worked into the council plan, and I'm sure all of us as councillors will keep in mind not just the specifics, but the intent of or the spirit, or the vibe. Let's go with the castle. The vibe of the recommendations. So yeah, thanks again, and to all our officers.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have other speakers for the motion? Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to take the opportunity to reinforce our thanks. It's the time, it's the commitment, it was the passion of the panel. I absolutely loved watching the panel work together, mix together from different cultures, ages, and also connect with one another at break times and see the thorough enjoyment of working together. But it sounds like it was all fun, but it wasn't. There was a lot of reading, there was a lot of hard work, there was a lot of understanding. And their understanding of what a council plan is, the asset plan, financial plans, to be able to come up with these recommendations is nothing short than a pure miracle. And it was a lot of hard work that went into it. So I just want to say that I have really enjoyed working and watching the group. Also want them to know that we truly cherish and want to work towards understanding and prioritising their recommendations. And again, thank them for this opportunity to be community eyes over major strategies and plans and objectives for Manningham, because it was very clear and is by their vision in the report that it is all about a sustainable future and the best outcomes for our community now. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor El Taha, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to very greatly thank the dedication of the panel members. It's not easy to give up such significant chunks of your time and really absorb yourself into the inner workings and mechanisms of the council, but your insights were incredibly valued and valuable, as well the work the council officers did to facilitate that process. I just wanted to reflect on the fact that it was very reassuring to see that several areas of focus for myself personally, as well as my fellow councillors, were reiterated through the outcomes and findings of the community panel. That is very reassuring to know that we are working on the things that matter to the community. There were also areas which really extended our thinking, and I think that just shows the incredible value into this sort of exercise and approach, and the work that will go into ensuring that we encapsulate the needs of the community for the upcoming council plan. So thank you very much to everyone involved, and we hope to do it justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taha. Do I have other speakers to the motion? Councillor Anna Chen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the panel members started with 40 members and finished with 37 still involved. And the retention rate, I did a count, is 92.5%. And the high retention rate was the proof of the committee panel's passion. And the 14 recommendations show how invested they were in their role to produce those recommendations. And what they have produced is really, really powerful. I want to make special mention to the one minority report. And the minority report was produced by our young panel members. I was there to witness the voting of recommendations. I was so impressed to see the young people collectively wrote a minority report under enormous time pressure. And the minority report, but they still embracing never give up attitude to produce a minority report. And that the minority report suggests more money to spend on other groups who need support and amplifies the voice of young people and include more young people in the decision-making process. The panels altogether, each one, I have to say each one, spent 1,680 hours together to produce the 14 recommendations. Their work has been so impressive, and I have to take my hat off to you for your hard work and the dedication, in particular to the young people who were willing to give up their busy social life to attend to many people feel boring and to sit together for so many hours. But in a way, and I think that it is really, really impressive. So those young people, and of course every member, should be congratulated and celebrated for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Laura Main.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. As a councillor, I'm just so fortunate that we have the privilege to be led by such robust and detailed community direction. As a group of councillors, we genuinely are so passionate about community consultation, and having this direction really does give us confidence going into our council plan development. So I'd just like to thank everyone for their time, effort and energy. Our council, and more importantly, our community is going to be better off for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Any other speakers to the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.2, Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly motion, June 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Anna Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And the motion tabled tonight for endorsement is a motion to be submitted to ALGA, the Australian Local Government Association, ahead of the June 2025 National General Assembly. ALGA is the national voice of local government, representing 537 councils across the country. Each year, ALGA holds National General Assembly in Canberra and invites councils to submit motions that align with the identified priority areas. This year's NGA theme is National Priorities Need Local Solutions. Manningham Council's motion is to advocate for soft plastics waste management, a call for manufacturer responsibilities and industry collaboration. Madam Mayor, we all know councils play an important role in waste collection and recycling, but soft plastic recycling faces significant challenges due to contamination, material mix, and lack of infrastructure, leading to much of it ending to landfills. Australia consumes, manufactures, and produces more plastic waste than we have domestic capacity to recycle. Only about 13% of plastics are recycled in Australia, and there are too few local operators to handle the plastic waste we produce annually. This motion is to call for ALGA to advocate for soft plastics waste management, including engage soft plastic manufacturers to ensure that they are financially and operationally responsible for the collection, recycling, and disposal of plastic they produce. Support industry collaboration, particularly with the Australian Food Grocery Council, to develop long-term viable processing solutions. Because the Council is responsible for regulating what packaging is acceptable through our major supermarket chains. They have suggested recycling soft plastics in the curbside recycling bin as a model. But we all know that soft plastic is unsuitable for recycle bin because they can get tangled in machinery, contaminate other recyclables, and are often made from different plastic types are difficult to process, leading to inefficiencies in the recycling process. The other area is to establish a national task force to develop and implement a strategic action plan to address the soft plastic waste crisis. Also, funding and initiatives to establish or expand recycling facilities capable of processing soft plastic at scale. Because the impact of soft plastic waste to our environment is so enormous, and I ask my fellow councillors' support for this motion. Of course, recycling is the last line of thinking in tackling soft plastic waste. The primary thought is how we can avoid soft plastic in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor El Taha, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really appreciate the explanation, very detailed and thorough, that Councillor Chen provided us as a council, as well as fellow members here of the community tonight. On a more personal basis, I just want to sort of reiterate the fact that the elimination of soft plastic as a material, and also in terms of the waste problem that we have, is not something insignificant. as someone who is primarily responsible for waste management of my household, when we had the system running where we were actually able to drop off soft plastics at our local shopping centres, that was a truly significant reduction in the volume of waste that my household produced. It actually managed to get our bin reduction down to once a week, and I am a family of 3 adults and 3 children at home. So a once a week waste disposal was actually incredible given the family of that size. So this really does have a practical impact. I'm somewhat perplexed why this hasn't been a priority for the federal government, and it is also something that through this motion I hope that we can show as a community that we place a great importance of, and also as our federal election is coming up, that our candidates and anyone running in this process sort of sees the urgency and importance of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Lang?
Thank you. I was also going to talk on a personal note in terms of soft plastics is what makes up the majority of our red bin, but maybe I'll turn it around and talk about how proud I am of the local community. I attended councillors on the weekend, the Warren Wonga Park Sustainability Market, and one of the stores was completely dedicated to the removal of soft plastics, and they had made material items and material covers and material bags and all reused collected materials to then be products instead of soft plastic. So I'm pleased to inform everybody that I now have covers for all my bowls that are made out of recycled material, so I don't have to use Glad wrap or foil. But I do acknowledge that that then means the effort to be washing these material products, and of course the time it would have made if I'd had to make them myself. So I think it is very important as local councils that we get together and when we call on a national strategy for recycling, because we do know how difficult and the barriers that happen with the manufacturing and the recycling and the sorting of soft plastics. And it really is important that's why we have the national conference, to come together and bring local government issues to our federal government and to call on them to have a strategy to assist local governments to manage our waste.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 13.3, Appointment of Authorised Officers, Planning Environment Act 1987. Do I have a mover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mayne. Councillor Griffiths, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Mayne? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 13.4, Informal Meetings of Councillors. Do I have a mover?
I move that the recommendation be adopted, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Peter Bain. Councillor Carly Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Bain, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 14, Chief Executive Officer, and there are no Chief Executive Officer reports this month. Item number 15, Urgent Business, and we have no items of urgent business. Which brings us to item number 16, Councillor Reports and Question Time. Councillors, would anyone like to make a report or to ask a question? Councillor Chen.
Mayor, may I have a report and also ask a question? And my report was the Manningham Asian Cultural Festival, hosted by the Asian Business Association of Whitehorse, with the support of council, was a resounding success, attracting over 10,000 visitors despite the extreme temperature. And the 10 minutes fireworks finale was phenomenal, drawing a crowd of over 3,000 people. Some feedback was that it was better than the Box Hill Lunar Festival because the event attracted a lot of young families, which made it very, very special. A big thank you to the ABAW volunteers and especially our officers to make this festival a reality. The Manningham community, and also a special shout out to Jackson Hole traders, Manningham community, and visitors from all walks of life for coming together to celebrate the beauty of our culture, richness, and community spirit. This is my report. May I ask a question now?
Yes, please, Councillor.
And Council has increased focus on youth employment, and a youth employment action plan was developed in 2019. In 2023, Council has also created additional 5 full-time positions for a graduate program. The graduate program attracted hundreds of applications. It was so popular, more can be done by Council, I think. Can officers bring a report to Council regarding the implementation of our youth employment program in Council, including graduate program, year 10 work experience, apprenticeship, and future opportunities? Can officers also consider including a webpage regarding these opportunities for our young people, such as the positions available and the application process? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. I'll ask Karen Patterson, Director of Experience and Capability, to provide a response.
Thank you, Councillor Chen, for your question. You're right, we have a focus on youth employment here at Council, and we've increased that over the last few years, and a particular note was the introduction of our 5 graduate positions around about a year ago, which have been really successful within our community, and they will still continue with us for another year. In terms of the current ones, and then we'll look to bring new ones into the organisation as well. In terms of the services though, we do already do quite a bit more. So we do have legal interns, we also have some undergraduate engineer cadets programs that we run, and over the last year too, we've also celebrated an award-winning landscape architect, an apprentice who has really done some great things to promote Manningham and the work that young people can bring to an organisation. We have quite a vibrant work experience program ready, and we generally have about 5 to 10 people come through our organisation each year through that work experience program, and we do our best to accommodate as many requests as we get for young people to come and work and have some work experience. And we've recently revised our work experience placement policy to try and enable more student placements for different programs and courses, so people studying at various levels to come and work in our organisation as well. We can absolutely look at our website and see what additional information we can do to promote the work that we do in this space. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and I'm looking forward to a work experience student join me in July in the Mayor's office. Any other questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just coming up to this weekend is the Warrandyte Festival, and I'd just like to give a plug for that because it's going to be a great weekend. Hopefully this one doesn't get cancelled because of fire or rain or whatever. Potential fires, I should say. But yeah, it's always a great event, and it starts at 5 o'clock on Friday night, and there'll be bands playing. I'm a bit of a muso. I'd love to be on the stage, but unfortunately, I'm probably not that good. But I know there's some really good bands down there. There's tug of war at 12 o'clock. On Saturday. There's a tug of war between the SES, the CFA, and the police. So that will be interesting. See who comes out on top there. And at 2 p.m. there's and then there's a whole lot of kids' activities like dodgeball, clay play, and there's a teenage stuff like silent disco. I don't know what that's about, but apparently you wear headphones, so disco's back. Yeah, I'll get up and do some moves maybe, but yeah.
You got a white suit?
Yeah, I'll get that. Yeah, staying alive. That's what we'll be doing on Saturday. So yeah, I just encourage everyone to get down there and enjoy themselves. And yeah, and there's a parade that happens also on Saturday morning. So looking forward to that. Thank you. And it is something that's supported by Manningham. But I would just like to point out, when I went to What's On in Manningham, it actually comes up with a 24 program. I was wondering if officers could perhaps update our website, because I found the program on actually the the Warrandyte Festival have got a much better program than what we've put up there. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cullen, and I've seen that our team have taken a note of that to action at. Any other comments or questions, councillors? Councillor Grievous.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you acknowledged earlier, Manningham values a contribution made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I'd like to note that for our Greek community out there, today is National Greek Day, so congratulations to everyone in celebration of 204 years of National Day. I'd also like to acknowledge the organising committee for Greek National Day and all their efforts over the past few days, especially on Sunday, which a turnout of around about 5,000 people at the shrine for a parade for National Day, and the work well done there. So, yeah, just a plug there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Councillor Lang.
Thank you. I thank you, Councillor Cullen, for stealing some of my thunder, but that's fine. Lucky I had so much more to add. So I am continuing the plug for the Warrandyte Festival, but I just wanted to raise on the Friday night, it's actually the Rotary Art Show that kicks the festival off, and that is local and renowned artists who enter into the show, which is put on by the Rotary Club, which is then part of the festival committee. I guess I just wanted to draw to people's attention that a festival that's run by the community is all about the dedication and hard work and planning of community members who do that on their own back, as you would all know as councillors, spending a lot more time than you might be compensated for. But these people do this just out of their pure enjoyment and commitment. And I note that this year's theme is all about connecting with the environment and each other within the environment. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all the volunteers as it gets harder, as volunteer numbers drop, as people get wiser in years, and as working on our main roads, which the parade and hanging up all of the flags are. So I just wanted to call out all the hard work that continues to go into organising the festival. And then I also wanted to call out the Warrandyte Pottery Expo that, as I said last time, had a cancellation, but the local businesses stepped in. And in particular, the Warrandyte Pottery Studio, who stepped in with Gabby and worked with Jane to bring in what we call a new revamped mini expo. And that was a great success, and it was lovely to see local businesses, local potters, and those who had already travelled internationally to be able to come and enjoy Tuffy's Hut, and also the whole atmosphere of where the Pottery Expo originated in the first place. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Right on 2 minutes. Councillor El Taha.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I want to address the Templestowe Village community, both residents and local traders' concerns over the route project that is currently being analysed and assessed. During the community panels last week and also in separate conversations, I've heard the serious stress and anxiety the potential worst-case 3-month road closures will have on impacted parties. While I understand Council's legislative requirements and the road's desperate need for repair, I personally am also concerned about the village's ability to handle such an impact to its usage for a prolonged period. I would just like to reiterate my strong preference for road closures and other measures that significantly hinder access to the village be mitigated as discussions with the contractor progresses. I'd also like to note the importance of supporting our traders who make living local possible throughout this time. Finally, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the severe pain and distress experienced by many members of my ward, as well as the broader Manningham community and beyond. The violation of the prevailing ceasefire and resumption of escalated Israeli hostilities without notice last Tuesday has resulted in devastating and ongoing massacres of Palestinians, including many hundreds of children. This assault, as well as the displacement and violence by the illegal military occupation in the West Bank, has reverberated throughout the region, including Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon. This ongoing violence directly impacts a significant portion of our community, whether they are from those countries or simply as human beings witnessing that brutality. I'd like to reiterate, in whatever capacity I can, the urgent call of the United Nations and all human rights organisations in Australia and globally, demanding an immediate ceasefire, a call for the upholding of international law, equal human rights and dignity for all, and an end to the illegal blockade of age, such that organisations such as Manningham's own founded not-for-profit Olive Kids, who dedicates its work to providing support to Palestinian children, allowed to resume their work and desperately facilitating aid. If any member of our community is experiencing distress, I'd urge you to please not hesitate to reach out for support. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taha. Do I have any others, councillors, with a report? Councillor Laura Main.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So speaking of festivals, I would like to shout out the Manningham Family Festival and the Walk for Youth Mental Health that happened on March 16th at Finns Reserve. This event is run by Rotary in collaboration with our Scouts, and it's always a wonderful day filled with stalls, rides, animal farms and much more. It was disappointing, as Councillor Conlon alluded to, with the weather. It got rained out, but nonetheless the volunteers remained in good spirits and kept the event going as long as they could. Just personally, I think it's so amazing that the organisers go out of their way to use this event to advocate for youth mental health. This is just such an important issue, and that's something that us as a council have worked hard to advocate towards, but it's always so much more impactful when we have more and more people getting on board also advocating. So I'd really like to thank them for that. So yes, thank you to the tireless, wonderful volunteers for putting on this event, and I'm really looking forward to next year where we hopefully have slightly better weather. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Councillors, I'd like to make a report. On Monday, I visited the grade 3s and grade 4s at St Gregory the Great Primary School in Doncaster to talk about all things government and local government and the importance of democracy. And to demonstrate democracy, I gave them all a task. And I asked them if they only had 3 buckets of money, which council services would they prioritise? And so the 6 options for the students were parks, playgrounds and open spaces, pet registration and pet safety, healthy ageing services, roads, footpaths and drainage, arts, culture and libraries, and waste services and recycling. And councillors, I was absolutely amazed that demonstrating a strong commitment to the future of Manningham, the top priority for council funding was waste services and recycling. I thought that was absolutely tremendous. And then number 2 was healthy ageing. And that warmed my heart that they were also focused on making sure their grandparents had places to go and that they were safe to be able to get around and that they wouldn't get lonely when they got older or sick. So I thought that was wonderful. Number 3 was pet registration and safety. They were very keen to ensure their pets were kept safe. I'm sorry to say, Rochelle Kotroki, that footpaths, roads and drainage was rated equal last. But I guess our kids don't really use those facilities quite yet. But surprisingly, also equal last was arts and culture and libraries. And number 4 was our playgrounds. And when I asked them why that wasn't number 1, they said, we've got great playgrounds. So councillors, as we go into the final stages of our 4-year council plan, I thought we should keep some of these priorities in mind. Thank you, councillors. Any other reports, questions? Well, I'm going to move to item number 17, confidential reports. So, councillors, we have one confidential report tonight. Can I please have a motion to close the council meeting to the public to consider the confidential matter? Councillor Carly Lang.
Madam Mayor, that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 66(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the following items. Item 17.1, Strategic Property Portfolio Update.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor El Taha. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. So we will now be closing this meeting to members of the public and end the live stream to consider the confidential report. Thank you everybody in the gallery for joining us and staying for the whole meeting.